Hi everyone, I am an astronomer. Today I want to tell you what I have been seeing with an object in space called 3I Atlas. I am telling this story in simple words so everyone can understand it. I have been watching this object for many months, and now the things I am seeing are making me question everything I thought I knew. The first strange thing I noticed was that the object was getting dimmer. This made no sense to me at all. 3I Atlas was coming closer to Earth. When something comes closer, it should look brighter, just like when a car drives toward you and the headlights look stronger. But this object was doing the opposite. In only a few days, its brightness dropped from magnitude 10.1 to 10.6. That means it lost about 63% of its light. When I saw this number, I checked again because I thought maybe I made a mistake, but the numbers were correct. The object was really fading. Some scientists said it was because the object was moving farther from the sun. When something moves away from the sun, it reflects less sunlight. That can make it look dimmer, but this answer did not feel right to me. The timing did not match the normal behavior of comets. 3I Atlas passed closest to the sun weeks ago. It should have dimmed slowly after that, but instead, it suddenly started fading faster. This made me wonder if something inside the object was changing. Maybe the surface of the object was changing its shine. Maybe the material on the outside was shifting in a strange way. Most comets behave in simple ways. They get brighter as they move toward the sun, then they slowly dim as they move away from it. But this one was not doing that. Even after losing brightness, 3I Atlas was still one of the brightest objects being watched. Out of almost 100 comets, it stayed near the top. Only a comet called Lemon was brighter, but that comet also had strange changes in brightness. Still, none of them behaved like 3I Atlas. Then new images arrived from late November. These images made things even stranger. The tail of the object looked loose and broken. It did not look smooth like normal comet tails. It looked like something inside was changing again and again. People using small telescopes, even only 26 centimeters wide, took pictures showing two clear jets coming out of the object. One of the jets was an anti-tail pointing toward the sun. That is rare. Comet tails normally point away from the sun. The solar wind pushes the tail in that direction. But this object had material pointing toward the sun. I stared at the pictures trying to understand how this could happen. More pictures came from Hawaii. They also showed jets going in different directions. The object did not look calm or normal. It looked active and changing. Then something happened that made everything even more confusing for me. I learned that the light from 3I Atlas was pulsing. It did not pulse randomly. It pulsed with a perfect rhythm. The pulse happened every 16.16 hours. The brightness went up and down by a lot. This caught my full attention. Natural objects can spin or tumble. They can change brightness when sunlight hits them in different ways. But this rhythm was too perfect, too stable, too exact. Some people first thought the pulses were coming from the nucleus spinning. Maybe it was shaped like a potato and turning in space. But then the Hubble Space Telescope looked at it. That changed everything. Hubble showed that most of the light was not coming from the nucleus. It was coming from a glowing cloud around the nucleus called a coma. The nucleus was very small, so small that it gave less than 1% of the total light. If the nucleus gave less than 1% of the light, then it could not cause such large changes in brightness. The numbers did not work, so the pulses could not come from the nucleus spinning. They had to come from something else. I thought about it for a long time, then I realized the jets could be causing the pulses. If the jets fired in a rhythm, the coma would get brighter and dimmer. It would look like a heartbeat in space. Bright, dim, bright, dim every 16.16 hours. Natural comets do not act like this. They release gas when the sun heats the ice, but they do not follow perfect timing like a clock. Then I saw another detail that made me think even more. If one side of the nucleus had a big ice pocket, that side could release a jet when it faced the sun, and it could stop releasing when it turned away. That could make a rhythm, but natural rhythms usually drift a little. This one did not drift at all, not even a tiny bit since July. 5 months of perfect timing. That was strange. Then more pictures came in. The anti-tail was still strong and pointing directly at the sun. The main tail looked messy and uneven. It had clumps and empty parts. This meant the object was releasing material in bursts. Not smoothly, not gently, but in sudden events. People everywhere were watching this object. Even amateur astronomers were taking pictures every night. With small telescopes, they captured amazing details. They showed the object changing shape almost every day. This was not a quiet rock drifting in space. Something inside was active. Then I heard the part that surprised me the most. Some jets were not pointing where they should if sunlight was the only reason. Some jets pointed in strange directions. They did not match the heating pattern from the sun. This made me wonder if the object was controlling the jets, not reacting, but choosing. Then something even more surprising came from some teams. They said they might have seen radio patterns matching the 16.16-hour cycle. Natural comets can produce radio waves, but not perfect repeating radio pulses. If the optical pulses, thermal pulses, and radio pulses all matched, then something inside the object was creating a perfect rhythm. A rhythm that a random ice rock should not have. I felt we needed better data. NASA could point the Hubble and the James Webb Space Telescopes at the object, but no announcement came, no schedule, no update. The silence worried me. Maybe they were planning something quietly. Maybe they did not want people to panic. Maybe they were unsure what they might find. We have only a small window before the object gets too dim. After that, we might never know the truth. And all this time, the heartbeat keeps going. Every 16.16 hours. Bright, dim, and I'm left wondering what I am really watching in the sky. As I kept watching 3i Atlas, I saw new changes that made everything even more confusing for me. Every night the object looked different. Sometimes the tail looked longer, sometimes it looked shorter, sometimes it looked thicker, and sometimes it looked broken into parts. This was not how a normal comet behaves. A normal comet changes slowly, but this one changed fast, almost too fast for something natural. One day I saw pictures from November 25. A man in Belgium took the pictures. He used a small telescope. His pictures showed a fluffy and loose tail. It looked soft and spread out in strange ways. 2 days later, a man in Thailand took more pictures. He also used a small telescope. His pictures showed twin jets coming from the object. The jets were very clear. They looked strong and sharp. This shocked me because small telescopes do not usually show such detail, but this object was so active that even small tools could catch its behavior. Then I saw pictures from Hawaii. These pictures showed the jets changing directions within 1 day. This was a big surprise. Normal comet jets follow sunlight. They point where the ice melts the most. But here the jets sometimes did that and sometimes did not. Some jets pointed toward the sun, some pointed away, some pointed sideways, some even seemed to twist. It did not look random, but it also did not look natural. I felt like I was watching something making choices. Not something being pushed by the sun. This idea bothered me. I tried to ignore it, but the evidence kept coming. The next part that confused me was the speed of change. Between November 28 and 29, the jet structure changed in only 24 hours. That is very fast for a natural object. The anti-tail became stronger on the 29th. The other jets moved into new positions. It looked like something inside the object was turning on and off, like switches, not slow melting, but fast changes. Then I remembered the heartbeat pattern, the 16.16-hour rhythm. I wondered if the jet changes were connected to that rhythm. Maybe each time the object completed one cycle, the jets changed shape. Maybe each pulse of the heartbeat pushed new material into space. That would explain the bursts in the tail, that would explain the clumps, and that would explain the gaps. But it still did not explain why the rhythm was perfect. 5 months, not even one small drift. Natural spinning objects drift. They slow down or speed up, but not this one. This one was exact like a machine. The more I thought about it, the more questions I had. While all this was happening, I kept waiting for NASA to look at the object again. They used the Hubble Space Telescope to look at it once in July. They used the James Webb Space Telescope at another time. But now the object was much closer. Now the details would be much easier to see. This was the best chance to understand it, and the window to observe it was short. Only a few weeks. After that, the object would be too close to the sun and too dim for safe observation. But NASA stayed silent. No plan, no message, no announcement, nothing. This silence made me uncomfortable. Usually when something interesting happens, NASA shares updates, but this time, nothing came out. I did not know if they were ignoring it, or if they were studying it secretly, or if they were worried about what they might find. Some scientists started to argue with each other. Some said we should observe it right now. Others said we should wait. But everyone agreed the window was small, very small. If we missed it, we might lose our only chance. I kept thinking about the dimming. The object kept getting darker even while it came closer to Earth. That should not happen. Things get brighter when they get closer, but not in this case. The dimming grew faster each day. At this rate, it might become too faint to study at all soon. We only had days or weeks left, not months. Then I thought about the earlier interstellar visitors, like the first one, Oumuamua, in 2017. That one acted strange too. It sped up in a way gravity could not explain. Scientists never figured out why. It traveled away before we understood it. Then came Borisov in 2019. That comet behaved more normally, but we still learned very little. Now we had 3i Atlas. This one was different. This one had months of data. This one had clear jets. This one had a heartbeat. This one had an anti-tail pointing toward the sun. This one had fast changes. This one had possible radio pulses. It was like all the mysteries were appearing at the same time, and none of them fit our normal rules. Scientists said its orbit was hyperbolic. That means it was not from our solar system. It came from outside, from deep space. Maybe from another star, maybe traveling for millions of years. But even after all that time, it arrived here still active, still producing strong jets, still holding its shape, still pulsing with perfect timing. I asked myself how an object could survive for so long in deep space. The radiation is strong out there. The temperatures are near zero. Dust hits objects at high speed. Most comets would break apart, but this one did not break. It stayed whole. This made me wonder if it was stronger than a normal comet, or maybe it was something else. While I watched the heartbeat pattern, I also thought about the tail bursts. Each 16.16 hours, the object might be releasing new material. This could push the coma outward. This could refresh the brightness. This could also explain the messy shape of the tail. Not smooth, but pumped, like a pulse. But again, the timing was perfect. Not natural. The next strange thing was the radio idea. A respected scientist suggested that the pulses might also appear in radio waves. If true, that would be very unusual. Natural comets can make radio waves, but not repeating ones, not timed to a rhythm, not matching optical pulses exactly. If the radio waves matched the heartbeat, that would be a huge sign. A sign of something organized, a sign of something working in a pattern. Not random nature, but maybe controlled events. This made me think even harder. If the jets were firing in planned directions, they would not need to follow sunlight. They could fire wherever the object wanted. That matched what we were seeing. Some jets followed sunlight, some did not. Some looked like they moved on purpose. And the changes were too fast. This reminded me of a machine, not an ice ball, not something melting randomly, but something reacting quickly, something responding, something choosing. I did not want to jump to a wild idea, but I could not deny what I was seeing. The next 2 weeks were the most important. If NASA looked at it now, we could know the truth. If they waited too long, the object would become too faint, and then we would lose everything. I checked the sky every night. Every night the heartbeat continued. 16.16 hours. Perfect. Stable. Exact. It was the strangest thing I have ever watched, and I knew we needed answers fast. As the days passed, I kept thinking about the strange heartbeat coming from 3i Atlas. Every 16.16 hours, the brightness changed. It went up and down like a pulse. I watched it again and again. I counted the hours. I checked the graphs. I checked the pictures. And every time, it matched the same rhythm. Perfect timing. No drift, no change, no mistake. I wondered how something natural could keep time this perfectly. Most comets spin in messy ways. Their ice melts unevenly. Their jets switch on and off as they warm up or cool down. But none of them act like a perfect clock. 3i Atlas did. I tried to explain it in normal ways. Maybe it had a very even ice patch. Maybe it melted with perfect balance. Maybe the jets fired only when sunlight hit one special spot. But even with these ideas, it still did not make sense. Natural objects do not stay perfect for months. Thermal stress changes them. Space dust hits them. The sun heats different areas. They wobble. They drift. But this one stayed exact. That made me think something else was happening. I also kept thinking about the anti-tail. The anti-tail pointed toward the sun. That almost never happens. Most comet tails point away from the sun because the solar wind pushes dust outward. But the anti-tail here was different. It stayed clear and strong, day after day, even when the other jets moved around. That made me wonder what kind of material was inside the tail. It must have had particles shaped or sized in a special way. Or maybe the object released material in a pattern that created the unusual shape. Whatever the reason, it did not behave like a normal comet. Then I looked at the structure of the tail more closely. It had clumps, it had breaks, it had bright parts and dark parts. This was not steady flow. It looked like bursts. Powerful bursts, like something was pushing material out in sudden events. This matched the 16.16-hour cycle. Each pulse could create a new burst of dust. Then the tail would show a new clump. Then the gaps would appear, and then the shape would change again. It felt like the object was breathing, a long breath every 16.16 hours. Bright, dim, bright, dim. A full cycle of activity. As I watched it, I began to think about what else could create such a perfect rhythm. Machines can, engines can, timers can, natural objects usually cannot. I did not want to jump to big conclusions, but the rhythm was too strange to ignore. As the days got closer to December, more images came in. Each image showed something new. Sometimes the jets curved, sometimes they straightened, sometimes they blended into the coma, sometimes they stood apart like bright lines, and sometimes they moved to new angles entirely. It was like watching something change its behavior on purpose. I watched pictures from one night to the next night. The jets did not look the same. They changed direction, they changed shape, they changed brightness, all within 24 hours. This speed of change was shocking. Natural melting should be slow. Natural drift should be slow. But this was fast. I felt like something inside the object was reacting. Not melting slowly, but triggering events. Like bursts. Like pulses. Like switches. Then I saw reports from observers who thought the jets might follow patterns. Patterns that did not match sunlight. Patterns that did not match heating. Patterns that did not match rotation. If these patterns were real, it would mean the object was not behaving randomly. It would mean something was controlling the jets. I knew this was a big thought, and I knew I had to be careful. But the evidence kept growing. I also worried about the dimming. The object kept losing light even as it came closer to Earth. Every day it got dimmer. This should not happen at all. Most objects get brighter when they get closer, but this one acted backwards. Scientists said it was because it was moving away from the sun now, but the speed of dimming did not match that explanation. It was too fast, and it was happening while the object was still active. That made me worry even more. If it kept dimming at this speed, it might become too faint to study soon. Then we would lose all the information, and we might never know what it really was. I looked at the calendar. I counted the days left to observe. The best time to study the object was right now. This was the closest we would get with clear views. After mid-December, the angles would become difficult. The brightness would drop even more, and the sun would block safe observation by space telescopes. We had a narrow window, very narrow, and each day without new data felt like losing time. While all this was happening, I remembered the first interstellar visitor, Oumuamua. It came in 2017. It sped up in strange ways. It did not release a tail like normal comets. It had no gas jets we could see, but still it moved like something was pushing it. Many people wondered if it was natural or something else, but we lost it before we learned the truth. Then Borisov came in 2019. It looked more normal. It acted more like a real comet, but it still left questions. Now we had 3i Atlas. This one was the strangest of all. It looked like a comet, but it acted like something different. It had the heartbeat. It had the fast jet changes. It had the anti-tail pointing toward the sun. It had bursts in the tail. It had possible radio pulses. And most of all, it had perfect timing. I remembered hearing that scientists saw thermal pulses too. Heat pulses, not just light pulses, not just radio pulses. All of them matched the 16.16-hour cycle. Different types of measurements, different tools, different wavelengths, but the same rhythm. This made me think even harder. If all these signals lined up, something must be causing them together. Something inside the object must be controlling them. Natural objects do not coordinate optical, thermal, and radio pulses with such precision. That would require internal structure, or internal activity, or maybe internal technology. I did not want to jump to the extreme idea, but I could not ignore the signs. Then I thought about the shape of the nucleus. The Hubble data showed it was small, about 2.8 kilometers wide at most, much smaller than needed to produce all the light. Most of the light came from the coma, the bright cloud around it. So the nucleus was tiny but active, very active. Almost too active for something so small. It reminded me of a motor inside a small shell, a small core with a big effect. As I watched more images, I also noticed that the coma sometimes brightened in weird ways. Sometimes the whole cloud lit up. Sometimes only the inner part brightened. Sometimes only certain sides brightened. This matched the pulse. It looked like the coma expanded with each burst, like the object was breathing out gas and dust on purpose. This could make the light rise and fall. It could also move the tail. It could create the bursts we saw. All of this made the heartbeat picture stronger. Then I wondered if the pulse could help the object move. If the jets fired regularly, they could push the object. A gentle push. Not strong enough to be obvious, but strong enough over time to change course. Natural objects do not manage their course. Machines can. If this object used its jets like that, it could steer. Even a little. Even slowly. That idea made me pause. It made me think about it again and again. Was I watching a comet or something else? The more I studied it, the less it looked like a normal comet. But I needed proof, real proof, and the only way to get it was through Hubble or the James Webb Space Telescope. They could see deep into the coma. They could see the jets clearly. They could see the nucleus shape. They could find the materials. They could test the heartbeat. They could study the radio pulses. All the answers were waiting, but the window was small. Very small, and every day felt more important than the last. I kept watching the object in the sky, and the heartbeat kept going. 16.16 hours. Bright, dim, like a signal. Like a pattern, like a message. I did not know what it meant, but I knew we had to study it before it faded away. No drift, no slowing, no speeding up. I asked myself again how a natural object could keep time so perfectly. Even planets and moons drift over time. Even stars change their cycles. But this object did not drift at all. That made me feel uneasy. Then I thought about how the jets moved. Jets on a normal comet should only fire when sunlight heats certain areas. But the jets on 3i Atlas did not always follow the sunlight. Sometimes they pointed in strange directions. Sometimes they moved quickly. Sometimes they seemed to fire at times that did not match the sun's angle. This was very strange to me. It looked like something inside the object was deciding when to release material, not just melting, but choosing. Then I looked at how the tail behaved. The tail was loose, messy, full of bursts and gaps. Some parts were bright. Some parts were faint. Some parts looked like they were pushed by sudden force. This matched the heartbeat cycle again. Each 16.16 hours, a new burst appeared. Then the tail shifted. Then another burst came, and the pattern continued. I wondered if the heartbeat was controlling the entire tail. Then I thought about what could cause a heartbeat like that. Natural ice melting does not stay perfect for months. Even if it starts perfect, it changes quickly. But the pulse did not change at all. It stayed stable no matter what else happened. That made me think something strong and steady was inside the object. Maybe something spinning, maybe something heating, maybe something controlling. Then I considered the radio signals again. Scientists said there might be radio pulses matching the heartbeat. I knew that comets sometimes make radio waves when ions hit the solar wind, but those signals are usually random, not repeating, not steady, not perfect. If the radio waves match the 16.16-hour cycle, that would be serious. It would mean the object was coordinating different types of signals: light, heat, dust, radio, all following the same timing. This idea bothered me even more, because nature almost never syncs signals like this. Machines can, engines can, systems can, but comets usually cannot. Then I wondered if the object was using the jets to adjust its path. Each burst could push it very slightly, not enough to look like a big change, but enough to guide direction over time. Just a tiny push every 16.16 hours. Tiny changes add up. Over weeks or months, that could shift the path. If 3i Atlas was doing this, the movement would not be fully natural. That idea felt strange, but the evidence made it hard to ignore. I also thought about how the object stayed strong. Interstellar space is dangerous. Objects get damaged. Objects break. Objects fall apart. But this object stayed solid. It survived its long journey. It came into the solar system still active, still strong, still organized. That made me think again about its age and origin. Where did it come from? How long had it been traveling? Why was it still so active after so many years? These questions kept coming back. Then I started thinking about the new pictures that scientists hope to get. If NASA used Hubble now, we could see details of the nucleus. If NASA used the James Webb Space Telescope, we could see deep into the coma. We could learn what gases were inside. We could learn what materials were in the jets. We could study the pulses directly. We could learn if something inside was controlling the pulses. These answers were very close, but the window was very small. Only a few weeks left. After that, the sun would block the view, and the brightness would drop. If the brightness dropped too much, even big telescopes could not study it. I felt like time was running out, not slowly, but fast. Every day the object got dimmer. Every day the angle got worse. Every day the chance to understand it grew smaller. Then I thought about Oumuamua again. We lost our chance to study it. It moved too fast. We did not have enough warning. We were too late. Now 3i Atlas was here. This time we had warning. We had months of data. We had images. We had measurements. We had a clear heartbeat, but still something was holding us back. I did not know what. Maybe fear. Maybe doubt. Maybe lack of agreement. Maybe something else. But we needed answers before the window closed. As December came closer, I checked the sky every night. The heartbeat never stopped. The jets kept changing. The tail kept shifting. The brightness kept fading. Everything felt like it was building towards something. Like the object was trying to say something before it got too faint. Maybe it was natural. Maybe it was not. But whatever it was unique. Something we had never seen before. Something that broke our models. Something that made scientists argue. Something that made people confused. And something that made me feel like I was watching history happen in the sky. Still, we needed more data. We needed more pictures. We needed more measurements. We needed answers before it was too late. The next 2 weeks would decide everything. If we studied it now, we might solve the mystery. If we waited too long, we might lose the chance forever. The heartbeat continued. 16.16 hours. Bright, dim, and I kept watching, waiting, wondering. because something about 3i Atlas did not feel normal at all. As I moved into the final days of watching 3i Atlas, everything started to feel more urgent. The dimming was still happening, the heartbeat was still perfect, the jets were still shifting, and the window to study the object was getting smaller each day. I felt like time was slipping away, and I knew that once the object moved into the wrong position in the sky, we would lose our chance. Maybe forever. I kept thinking about how strange it all was. The dimming did not make sense. Objects should not get dimmer as they get closer to Earth, but this one did. Every new measurement showed a drop in brightness, even though it was only days away from its closest point. The jets also kept surprising me. Every new image showed changes. Some jets fired up, some jets shut down, some jets moved, some jets curved, some jets pointed toward the sun, some jets pointed away, some jets looked like they were pulsing in time with the heartbeat. This made me think the jets were connected to whatever was creating the 16.16-hour rhythm. Not random melting, not simple heating, but something timed, something steady, something organized. Then I thought again about how many different signals matched the same rhythm. The optical light pulse matched the rhythm. The thermal pulses matched the rhythm. Some radio hints seemed to match the rhythm too. 3 different types of signals, all pointing to 16.16 hours. This could not be ignored. It was too exact, too steady, too perfect. I also remembered that the nucleus was tiny. Hubble showed that the actual solid core was only a few kilometers wide, but it was creating a much bigger coma. And most of the light came from the coma, not the nucleus. This meant the activity around the object was doing all the work. Not the solid body, not the surface, but the jets themselves. The jets were the heart of the behavior, and the jets followed the rhythm. Then I asked myself a question I had not said out loud before. What if the object was using the jets for a purpose? What if the jets were not only melting ice, but doing something more? Like keeping balance, or adjusting direction, or releasing pressure, or even communicating. I did not want to jump to big ideas, but the evidence pointed me away from simple explanations. Natural comets can behave strangely, but they do not hold perfect timing for months. Natural comets can have jets, but their jets do not change direction in 24 hours again and again. Natural comets can have tails, but their tails do not burst in time pulses. 3i Atlas did all of this, and it did all of it together, at the same time, in the same rhythm. Then I thought about the 3 interstellar objects we have seen so far. Before 2017, we had seen none. Then Oumuamua came, then Borisov came, then 3i Atlas came. 3 objects in 8 years. This felt like a lot. Scientists said many more objects passed through our solar system. We just did not see them before. But this one was different. This one was bright. This one was active. This one was pulsing. This one was changing. This one was doing things that normal comets did not do. Then I thought again about Oumuamua. It sped up without any visible jets. Some scientists said it might have been a thin object shaped like a sail. Some said it might have been artificial. Some said it might have been natural but strange. We never learned the truth because it moved too fast. We lost it before we could study it well. Now I felt like we were about to lose 3i Atlas too. Not because it moved too fast, but because it was getting too dim, and because the observation window was closing. I knew we needed new data. We needed direct images of the nucleus. We needed clear pictures of the jets. We needed infrared scans from the James Webb Space Telescope. We needed high-resolution pictures from Hubble. We needed radio telescope arrays to test the signals. We needed all of this before it was too late. But every day passed with no announcement. No decision, no confirmation, nothing. This made me worried, because without those observations, everything we had would stay a mystery with too many strange parts. I looked again at the list of strange things. The object dimmed as it came closer. The jets changed direction quickly. The tail had bursts and gaps. The anti-tail pointed toward the sun. The coma was more important than the nucleus. The rhythm was perfect for 5 months. The signals matched across different wavelengths. The behavior did not follow normal comet rules. All of these together made me feel uneasy, not scared, just unsure. I wanted answers. I wanted data. I wanted to understand what I was seeing. I also thought about what would happen if we missed our chance. If we did not study it now, we might never know what it was. Not next year, not in 10 years, not ever. The object would leave our solar system. It would go back into deep space. We would watch it fade away. And all we would have left would be questions. Big questions, hard questions, questions with no clear answers. I felt like this was the most important moment, one of the biggest chances in modern astronomy. We might be looking at something natural but unique, or something natural but extreme, or something not natural at all. Whatever it was, the time to learn was almost over. I checked the sky again. The heartbeat continued. 16.16 hours. Bright, dim, like breathing, like a signal, like a pattern, like a message. I did not know what it meant, but I knew it was important. I knew it was trying to tell us something. Something hidden in the rhythm. Something hidden in the jets. Something hidden in the dimming, something hidden in the behavior. December was almost here. The window was closing, the brightness was fading, the mystery was growing, and I was still watching, still waiting, still hoping we would study it before it was gone. Because 3I Atlas was not just another comet, it was something different, something rare, something that challenged everything I thought I knew, and whatever it really was, this was the moment to find out. Before it disappeared, before it slipped away forever, and before the heartbeat faded into silence.